Irish guy, and how do you think Erik Ten Hag spent this morning? Most likely squatting on the toilet with his head in his hands with a tear-stained omelette on the floor. Honestly, I would imagine in private. This bloke isn't even able to finish his breakfast without quivering like an epileptic sheep. This is a man who's probably terrified of his phone ringing now like a babysitter in any Scream film. Honestly, Ghostface might as well be having a sandwich in his closet because he knows he surely must be anticipating a phone call from the hierarchy telling him that he's been sacked. Ten Hag is a bloke who's just seen his proud Manchester United dumped out of the League Cup 3-0 at home to Newcastle's C team. Yes, C team. I'm sorry, but the Geordies are the centre-back pairing of Emil Kraft and Paul Dummett at Old Trafford. On paper, that's a bit like the local bank having two scarecrows posing as security guards. Yeah, I mean, have fun getting robbed 6 times a day. Matt Targett began the game in the middle of the pitch. As a defensive midfielder, is this a joke? Casemiro versus Targett. That's a bit like a lion trying to wrestle a mouse. To be fair, he did come off with a hamstring pull after just a minute, but Anthony Gordon playing as a false 10, with Joe Linton and Matt Ritchie on the wings. If I was a Man United fan and saw that team sheet, I'd be a bit like a Viking getting off my boat in Malta and seeing that their army just consists of 4 squirrels and the town drunk. I mean, come on. Ritchie is a semi-backroom coach who probably eats 3 Chinese takeaways a week. Although, you know what the really weird thing is? This was my prediction for Newcastle's last Premier League match against Wolves.
I just think Eddie Howe is going to freshen up the team, and I see Joe Willock back from a 6-month layoff. I see him getting a start, nicking a goal, and leading a revitalised new-look Newcastle team to a 3-0 win. Honestly, I see Howe making major changes. I see him bringing in Matt Targett, Tino Livramento, Joe Willock, and Callum Wilson to the starting 11, and yeah, 3-0!
That is exactly what happened last night. This was an absolutely freakish 100% prediction. It was just that I was 1 game too early. It's like I could see all of this happening in my mind's eye. It's just that it's so foggy up there. I mean, there's no lighthouse in my brain. So all I did was just pick the wrong match. What a win for Newcastle. But I'm sorry, before we touch on the Man United disaster, I have to say this. Tino Livramento is the truth. That is now 2 man-of-the-match performances in a row against both Manchester clubs in both rounds of the Cup. With a name like Valentino, you'd assume he'd be some sort of Latvian poet. But no, this man is a future international star. Maybe for Portugal, if England keep producing world-class right-backs. Honestly, why is there such a golden age of English right-backs? I mean, in the mid-90s, did all of these English mothers just have an affair with Cafu? But yes, he might look like a skinny Dudley Dursley, but Livramento is class. To battle back from that horrible nightmare injury at Southampton, to not let that horror year define him, and to still be this good. If Kieran Trippier gets injured this season, then, at the risk of sounding like Pink,
so what?
I'm gonna say this, Livramento is the best backup right back in the Premier League. And I'm guessing Chelsea are kicking themselves for getting rid, but I'm sorry. Ten Hag has probably felt pretty smug for weeks. Whenever you leave an old job and suddenly see that company now struggling, it's probably a little ego boost. I mean, I would imagine. I mean, I have personally never quit a job only to see the entire place sink like a boat made of bubble gum. But yeah, seeing a proud historic Ajax 2 years on from Ten Hag's departure, having taken them to the brink of a Champions League final. Yeah, they're now rock bottom of the Eredivisie. They are a complete clown embarrassment, having conceded 9 goals in the last 2 league games. When Ten Hag reads the Dutch newspapers, he probably starts chuckling like a grizzly bear who has Seth Rogen's laugh. But I'm sorry, Ten Hag, this is no time to be smug, because you, sir, are an absolute fraud. What Manchester United produced this season is nothing short of horrible levels of pig vomit. When Anthony Onana was bought in the summer, a modern, progressive, ball-playing luxury goalie, I thought he would have the same impact on the Premier League as Ederson and Alisson, who both initially injected Man City and Liverpool with an extra 22 points in both of their debut years. Not only has the Cameroonian goalie looked more nervous than someone at a picnic with Bill Cosby, just constantly sniffing and studying the wine, but the whole team has been an utter joke. They've won 7 games this season, sure, but nervous, scrappy 1-goal wins against Wolves, Nottingham Forest, Burnley, Brentford, Sheffield United and Copenhagen, where they had to rely on Henrik Larsson's pudding son to bottle his penalty kick, and even that was only because Alejandro Garnacho chose to scuff up the penalty spot, showing the sportsmanship levels of KSI.
Oh, I just lost a boxing fight, so I'm gonna kick the wall and demand an appeal.
Yeah, can I appeal to get my £20 back? Man United's only convincing win this season was battering Palace 3-0 in the previous round of this cup, but that was probably because the game went on past Roy Hodgson's bedtime. Honestly, by half-time, he was probably snoozing in the corner of the changing room with a stand-in nurse checking to see if she needs to change his nappy and feed him milk through the nose. Some people might want to compare Ten Hag's spell now to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's hilariously disastrous reign as boss, but nah, I see more of David Moyes in Ten Hag. Solskjaer just seemed like a nice, eager-to-please PE coach who just wanted to be everybody's friend and let all the players walk all over him. Honestly, he was the nearly 50-year-old man with a wife and kids and probably still got bullied at work. just letting Ronaldo park in his spot and maybe allow him to throw his leftover lunch in his face when he was bored. Ten Hag was like Moyes in that they stood up to the players. I mean, the Scotsman strode in from Everton on the back of a horse and immediately banned ketchup, denying a hungry Rio Ferdinand his favorite condiment for his chips. Oh, it was a bold move. A bit like me trying to wrestle a dead chicken from a wolf. Yeah, I'm probably gonna have my ears turned into soggy porridge. But with Moyes, it didn't work. He quickly lost the dressing room and lost 15 games of football. Listen, Ten Hag, he has had his moments. I know his debut year was decent. He beat Liverpool, Arsenal, Tottenham, Man City, Chelsea, and Barcelona at Old Trafford. People always forget about the last one. Although, to be fair, it was a little sad. Seeing Manchester and Barcelona competing in the Europa League. It was a bit like watching Conor McGregor and Manny Pacquiao having a scrap next to some bins behind Morrison's. They reached both domestic cup finals, winning one. Yeah, there were highlights. But so what? Moyes and Solskjaer, catastrophic disasters, but between them, if you just pull out a few of their highlights, then here were the best bits. A 1-0 win versus Arsenal, knocking Liverpool out of the League Cup, topping a Champions League group of 14 points, being just half an hour away from knocking Bayern Munich out of Europe. Honestly, Moyes was just 30 minutes away from reaching a Champions League semi-final against Real Madrid. Solskjaer began life with a 12-game unbeaten Premier League start. He knocked PSG out of the Champions League, smashed Chelsea 4-0, repeatedly beat Man City, finished his first full season with no league defeats. Between January and July, they went 29 away games unbeaten in a row, won a Premier League match by 9 goals, reached the Europa League final. That all sounds great, but we all know the truth. They were about as competent as blind dinosaurs trying to swim. Ten Hag is a guy who had Manchester at the rock bottom of the league after going 4-0 down before half-time against Brentford. He watched his team pathetically concede 6 at City on Derby Day and 7 at Anfield. I'm sorry, but no. The club's 3 most important fixtures of the season are grudge matches against Liverpool, Arsenal, and Man City. Jose Mourinho understood the importance of not losing those games and used to grind out clean sheets at those intimidating grounds as if it was light work. Ten Hag instead, in his debut season, left those 3 grounds having conceded a combined 16 goals. Pathetic. The man has seen them lose to Man City 3 times, Brighton 3 times, Arsenal twice, Newcastle twice, Brentford, Aston Villa, Liverpool, West Ham, Tottenham, Crystal Palace, Real Sociedad, Sevilla, Bayern Munich, Galatasaray. He's barely been in the building 10 minutes. The man is a toxic elephant. Drama seems to consistently follow this man. Booting out Ronaldo was one thing, but did he really need to blow the Jadon Sancho thing out of all proportion? What Sancho did, was it really that bad? I mean, Paul Scholes once refused to play for the club. I don't think Sancho did that. Could Ten Hag not have just called him into his office, berated him in private for that stupid tweet, and then just swept it under the carpet for the good of the squad harmony? I guarantee you, Sancho has mates in that dressing room, and they will want Ten Hag to be sacked without a question of a doubt. He's made a complete mountain of a molehill. It's like being out to dinner with your parents, and yeah, you choose to pour gravy on the waiter's shoes as a prank. But instead of your folks trying to minimize the situation, your mom instead makes you publicly stand in the corner of the restaurant, and every 10 minutes or so, she chooses to chuck mashed potato at your head. Ten Hag has made an absolute scene. I think he's handled the Sancho situation poorly. This man is nowhere near being an elite coach. He's already said in the media last week that he accepts that he cannot bring Ajax's playing style to Old Trafford, that the fans have forced him to be more direct. So in that case, why on earth is he in charge? So you're telling me he was headhunted by the Man United hierarchy and told not to use his Ajax tactics. So what is the point? It's like a filthy rich billionaire hiring Adele just to cook him dinner and clean the house. Like, I don't get it. Ten Hag doesn't feel like he can play Ajax's controlled possession football. So instead, he's what? Just trying to be what David Moyes tried to be? Just an average mediocre coach who plays directly by lumping the ball in the box? Was that why he signed Wout Weghorst? This man has no clue how to exist at a monster European giant in the Premier League. I mean, come on. When Mourinho was in charge at Man United, this bloke was coaching Utrecht. Utrecht? I thought that was a gland you wee out of. Imagine being told he'd be Man United boss within 6 years. Sure, he finished 4th and 5th, but so? I mean, does anybody want the managers of AZ Alkmaar or Twente in the Premier League? In 5 years' time? Pascal Janssen or Joseph Woesting? Either one in charge at Old Trafford? A big fat yuck. Ten Hag is a bloke who failed the job interview at Tottenham due to a lack of charisma. I mean, I get it, because bidding off a charismatic magnetic Mourinho who commands every room and replacing him with someone who's got the personality of a brick, someone who looks like he hasn't smiled since 1994, I mean, he is football's answer to Rex Banner. It would be like a woman breaking up with Will Smith, who instead dates Statman Dave. Back in 2019, this man was heavy favourite for the Everton job. I am telling you, if he had replaced Marco Silva at Goodison Park, he would have absolutely failed and been sacked by now. I mean, Ronald Koeman couldn't survive at that club, and he's a better coach.
Oh, but Ten Hag did an amazing job at Ajax.
No. Louis van Gaal did an amazing job at Ajax. He won them an actual Champions League. They reached the final the following year too, only losing to Juventus on penalties. Van Gaal was 2 penalties away from getting a Dutch team to win 2 Champions Leagues on the bounce. Yeah, I mean, would you like that man back in charge at Old Trafford? You'd probably sooner like to lick chicken pox off a dog. A Manchester United manager should have a star-studded, powerful CV that inspires awe. Van Gaal and Mourinho, together, they coach the likes of Barcelona, Bayern Munich, Holland, Inter Milan, Real Madrid, Chelsea. Wow. Since Mourinho was sacked, the club standards have dropped so low that the next 3 bosses would have CVs that would be laughed at a Pizza Hut. Manchester United under 21s, Stuttgart under 19s, Reutlinken 05, Molde, Ulm 1846, Hanover 20, Hoffenheim, Utrecht. Go ahead Eagles. Go ahead Eagles. Is that a football club? Just sounds like an instruction Gandalf said to get Frodo off Mount Doom. The whole Manchester United coaching setup, the biggest clue that it's a complete circus right now, is when you see Steve McLaren in the dugout. I'm sure he's only there as a superstitious mascot of brighter times in the 90s. Probably like Paul McCartney using the same air freshener in his car that he had in the 60s with the Beatles. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm sure Steve used to fetch Fergie 5-star coffee back in 1999, but why stop there? Why not give Brian Kidd a job too? Or beg the 99-year-old retired dinner lady to come back as well. I mean, sure, they probably wouldn't know where they were. I mean, instead serve up bowls of mud and worms to the players, but still, why not? If we're trying to recreate the 90s, what can a coach who sacked a Derby 3 times possibly offer any Premier League team? The only McLaren that should be seen at the Man United training ground is the one that Rashford drives to work. Ten Hag needs to go. He needs to be sacked. Who should take the job? Well, not Graham Potter. Now, right now, he's currently the favourite for the Sweden job. Makes sense. He was a success in the Swedish leagues. He can help mold the next Swedish generation, building it around an absolute superstar like Alexander Isak. Zlatan Ibrahimovic is long gone, so he's not going to be eaten alive by someone with the ego of a king. And yeah, can carve out a career as the next Roy Hodgson. But I know, alright, if I'm suggesting that Eric be sacked, I need to be able to suggest a replacement or it's pointless. It's always weird trying to go for elite coaches in the middle of the season, so maybe Hansi Flick as interim coach? I know he failed at Germany, but in his last interim role, he helped Bayern Munich win the treble. He was given the interim job on the 4th of November. Yeah, that's this Saturday. Make it happen, Man United. If he is a success, give him the permanent gig. But if he fails, like Ralph Rangnick, who showed the personality levels of a headless Barbie doll, then fine, regroup in the summer and go back out there for Unai Emery or Eddie Howe. I mean, there's no real elite managers that'll work at the minute. Zinedine Zidane aside, who showed more interest in English football, as I have in Harry Styles' Instagram. So why not act like Manchester United and bully clubs for their managers? Come on, this is a club who tried to pitch Arsene Wenger from Arsenal in 2002. 10 years ago, they stormed into Everton's building and demanded David Moyes. But ever since then, they've been too shy and meek. Up until they got Ten Hag out of Ajax, they've either settled for free agents or just begged Molde if they could borrow Solskjaer, only to never actually give him back, like that lawnmower you loan from your neighbor, only to hide it in the attic. And so you just spend the next 8 months avoiding eye contact with Jim over the fence. And honestly, Molde are probably so starstruck that Man United are actually sending them an email that of course they were gonna give them their boss. Yeah, you know, as if Britney Spears asked to borrow your pen. I don't actually think Howe would quit Newcastle. He is a man who said he didn't want the England job because he wanted to stay with Bournemouth. So come on, but Emery, he is a journeyman manager. Aston Villa is his 9th job. I know he's got some levels of loyalty too. He turned down Newcastle to stay at Villarreal, but to be fair, Villarreal were in the actual Champions League. The Magpies were in a relegation battle mess. I think he would gladly take the gig at Old Trafford, without a shadow of a doubt. And I know he failed at Arsenal, but I think we all realise by now he's a much better manager than Ten Hag. Honestly, go get Flick or Gus Hiddink as a temporary coach and let Emery in the summer. Chuck 50 million at Villa if you have to. Honestly, it would be a much better use of 50 mil than throwing it at Mason Mount. But one thing is for sure, get rid of Ten Hag now! Anyway, that's what you think. Let me know what do you think. Let me know who should come in, should he go. Let me know. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give a like, subscribe. As always, I'll talk to you in a while.